All right, friends, so I just wanted to share with you really quick that variation of those back pockets. All right, friends, so I have a really fun video for you today. I'm really hoping this is informative and it really gives you some insight to authentic luxury handbags. So today we are going to be not only reviewing and kind of overviewing some differences, but we are actually going to be discussing, can an authentic luxury handbag be the same model and the same print, but yet different? So I'm going to answer that question for you today. I'm going to share some tips and insight on how you might know this, ways that you could research or learn more, and all that good stuff. So if you enjoy authentic luxury handbags and more, make sure you like and subscribe. You guys subscribing means so much. I love joining you here in this community. I love being able to share this information with you and just build a community of like-minded people. So I would love for you to join me here, but without further ado, let's check out some of the differences and discuss what happens, or if it can happen, on an authentic luxury handbag being similar but different. All right, friends, so today, like I said, I want to share a really informative video with you all and just kind of discuss what happens, or if it can happen, on an authentic luxury handbag being the same model and the same print but different. So this is kind of an interesting topic because obviously this is going to vary from brand to brand and different designers, but I wanted to just kind of cover the basis real quick with you guys and share some information that might be a little bit more helpful, especially when you're shopping the pre-loved market. So let's go ahead and just dive in. So today I have with me actually two of the Louis Vuitton Geronimos bags as an example for you. So just right off the bat, let's answer that question. Can a designer bag be an authentic piece and still have differences in the same exact model? And the answer is yes. There are times where we see that the luxury handbags actually vary from year to year or special order, and different things can be attributing factors. Now, this really requires some knowledge and research to be able to make that judgment call, or if you had a third party authenticate for you, which can be really helpful if you have any questions on that. But just right off the bat, that is something that is absolutely possible, and I know it can kind of sound confusing. So let's dive in. So first we have, like I said, two of the Louis Vuitton Geronimos bags. And this is my example for you today because there are so many similarities. They are the same exact print, the same exact style bag, but there are some differences I think we need to talk about today that can come across really confusing, especially if you are a buyer on the pre-loved market. So let's dive in. So first, as you can tell, right off the bat, we actually have the canvas looks slightly different. Now, canvas and being able to tell the print and the style and different things with authentication really do play a role. But something important to keep in mind, even if this is the same style bag and we can see it over and over and over, is it's going to be most likely used with a different piece of canvas. Most bags are not produced on the same exact piece of canvas used throughout all the bags in production. So one thing to keep in mind, even if it's, different years, different styles, your canvas is going to be from the same location, the same designer, but it's not the same exact sheet of canvas. So when they're creating it, there can be variations in that, so keep that in mind. However, you also have different environments that the bags are in, especially being pre-loved, that they just are gonna look different. So for instance, we can kind of tell there's different coloring on each of these, and it's a little bit different. The shade is a little bit different. So you might have had rubbing on one, you might have had a warmer environment, a cooler environment, all that playing a role, and in addition to it being a separate piece of canvas in general. So as it ages over time, the age can be different on the canvas and so forth. So that is something to keep in mind, that is not going to be exactly the same, even if you have that designer piece side by side on your shelf and all sorts of different prints or different styles of bags for that same exact print. It could look different, and most likely it will vary slightly throughout those different ones. However, the canvas and the things to recognize with that canvas is going to be the same throughout because the designer you're purchasing it from. I hope that makes sense. So another thing we're going to check out is the zipper. So as you can tell, the zipper actually varies a little bit. Let's see if we can find the zipper pulls to show you on these crossbodies. So what we're seeing on this one is there's actually two zipper closures on one of them, as the other one has one. So this is something interesting to keep in mind as well as we are noticing the changes throughout the bag. So one of them is actually going to be a little bit newer and the other one is a little bit older, but they're only about 5 years apart. The other thing to keep in mind here is we have on the back of one of them, we have just the fabric folded at the end and that little leather tab to keep it and the gold hardware. However, on the other one we see that it has the gold tab on the end and it still has the leather piece and the gold hardware here. So as they are very similar, we do see these slight differences, which you cannot just go and assume right off the bat. I guess you could, but you don't want to just assume that something is not authentic based on the differences you see in the, the familiarity you have with one bag. So as say you were familiar with this one where you see the gold edging on it, and the other one you don't see that. So that is something you just need to keep in mind, again, with over the years, knowing what has changed and what has not. So the other thing on these that is really, really intriguing to me over time is you see the pockets. So we not only have the zipper closure that's different on these, but additionally this back compartment. One of them opens and you can put your things in. The other one, we find Velcro. So the one we find Velcro, and they both have the front snapping compartment. However, the other thing that translates a little different that you'll see on that snapping compartment and the interior is one has a red lining, while the other one over here, you guessed it, it's different, it has a brown lighting. So this is another thing to keep in mind, friends, when you're, again, shopping the pre-loved market. And that is why it's so nice to have a third party authenticate if you need, because you get the opportunity to check that out, to know the differences, and they will know and be able to hopefully help you in that. All right, friends, so I just wanted to share with you really quick that variation of those back pockets. So the variations are with the back compartment having no Velcro to having Velcro. So this is one where it has no Velcro. Additionally, you also have that brown interior we were talking about. Like I said, you have more of that soft brown interior. The heat stamp actually is a little bit different on this one as well. We see more of the pointed corners as to where on the other one, they're a little bit more rounded. This one also has one zipper for that opening and the other one having two. The other difference we were talking about was that end tab being the rolled fabric opposed to the metal on the other one. So let's check that out really quick. The gold hardware there, which honestly, this one, I didn't find that it was poking or uncomfortable at first. I was kind of concerned about that, but I did not find it to be that. It's the case. We also have that double zip opening that goes along the top and throughout the bag, but that also that back compartment with the Velcro, it is a little bit louder, so that's something to keep in mind. I do feel like this one with the Velcro actually ends up feeling a little bit smaller because you have that Velcro on it. It is not, it's actually, you have pretty much the same size pocket, but just something to keep in mind that it does feel a little bit smaller because you have that Velcro attached. So let me know in the comments below. I'm interested to hear from you guys. Have you noticed the difference in these bags? If so, what did you notice about them? And also, have you had a luxury handbag that you've noticed the differences over the years? I'm interested to know designers and what you found out. So it's something to keep in mind when shopping that sometimes there are differences, even though authentic pieces are supposed to have that flow and certain things that we know about them in order to authenticate. There are times and years and changes that just happen to bags over time. So even though the bags look so similar and so many similarities, we do catch those differences in those authentic pieces at times throughout the years. So let me know if you have any comments below on questions or thoughts on that. Have you seen authentic luxury pieces that have changed over time? Maybe the years vary, just slightly changes that they've made throughout the bags. And what designer pieces have you noticed that on? Have you noticed it on, the crossbodies? Have you noticed it on tote bags? Let me know in the comments. I'm so curious to hear from you all. I hope this was a helpful video. I know it's a lot of information and a lot to process, but I hope it's helped you. And again, until next time, bye friends.